cold over here.
with my grandfather Nick's brother Rudy and sister Jean, his kid brother and sister. This is the first time I had a chance to meet Rudy. It was nice to have lunch with you and get to know you. So I wanted to do a little interview with you guys, get some family memories. So you were, Jean, you were the youngest. You were 19 years younger than my grandfather
Right.
Nick, and he was the oldest.
Right.
Okay, and Rudy, you were the fourth in line.
No, fifth.
Fifth in line, okay. And you were 13 years younger than my grandfather? 12, okay. And would that make you 77?
78.
78. Okay. And so you grew up in Philadelphia, right?
No, we grew up in Haverford Township.
Well, Haverford.
Manoa.
Manoa, okay. That was the house that we visited this summer then, right?
Right. We all grew up in that house.
Okay. And so were all of you in that house at one time or another?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we all lived there till I was 11 years old. 1946, we sold the house, or 47, to your dad.
And did any of the family have a hand in building the house?
No, my father built it.
He bought it. Okay. That's
No, he didn't buy it. He built it.
Oh, he built it. Okay, that's what I was asking. If he had a hand
he
in
did,
building
but
it.
I don't think any of the boys did because
No.
they weren't old enough.
Okay.
Yeah, they weren't old enough.
So your father and a lot of people in the family were masons, right?
Right.
Stonemasons. And
All of us.
you were too. Did you work in your father's company?
No. Only here in California for 2 years,
Okay.
but not back home.
With other companies back east?
No, my brothers and myself, it's all. I
Okay.
didn't work for nobody.
So you had your own business with your brothers? Okay.
After I left Nick and Al, I went on my own.
What was the name of the family business?
DiRocco Construction.
That's easy to remember.
See, and it's DiRocco.
DiRocco, DiRocco.
DiRocco.
Right?
So, what are some of your memories growing up in your big family? What are some of your favorite things to remember as a child growing up in the DiRocco family?
Well, we used to go to Wildwood in the summertime down to Manos. And we had a good childhood, I'll tell you that. We had a great time growing up.
Dad was always well-to-do. He can afford to do a lot of nice things at that time when most people couldn't do a whole lot.
Yeah. Well, tell me about your parents. What kind of people were they? What kind of personalities?
Oh, they were nice people. I mean, they're the best.
You're a little prejudiced.
Yeah.
No, but they really were. Dad was very generous. He always helped people with their mortgages, things like that during the end of the Depression. And he was a very generous person. I think the Lord blessed him.
We had a big fat colored mammy that did the laundry.
Jane.
Then my mother had a friend that came out 3 days a week and cooked. Yeah, we had a nice time.
So your parents were Antonio and Eladia? And did your mother go by Eladia, or did she have a shortened name? Okay. And did either speak Italian?
Oh, yeah. That's
They
what
spoke Italian all the time.
Regularly? Okay.
Yeah, my mom spoke to me in Italian and I answered her in English.
So you understood,
I understood, but I couldn't speak it.
especially when you're being scolded, I'm sure.
Well, that's when I probably said, I didn't understand what you
Oh,
said.
no capiche.
No capiche.
So, with the age gap with you and my grandfather Nick, Rudy, do you have much remembrance of him when you were younger, when he was, maybe a teenager?
Well, we used to have a lot of company. And because we lived in the suburbs, they all lived downtown in the city. And Sunday, we always had company. My mother's sisters, my father's sister, and it was nice.
So from your earliest recollections, my grandfather Nick was probably married, I would imagine.
No,
At least from mine, because I was
Yeah,
18
definitely for
months
you.
old when
you
Yeah.
wouldn't remember, but I remember the wedding because the limousine driver got drunk.
You know, Mom asked if they eloped. You saw that video. He just laughed at that.
Yeah.
So you were at the
They
wedding?
had a big wedding.
They had such a big wedding. There was a lot of people that came. I think they got like 20 toasters and I don't know how many of those big stainless steel coffee pot sets. They had big.
And cocktail shakers with the
All that stainless
metal.
steel stuff.
Martini glass like.
Yeah.
You got about 21 of them.
How many people would you say there were?
Oh, God knows, might have been 100 people if I know my father.
Yeah.
And when my dad was 40, I can still picture the pig. They had a roast pig that Mr. Orlando baked with nap on its mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was about
Cook it
this
in the
long.
oven or out in the backyard?
No, Orlando, the baker, cooked
Oh,
it.
in his big oven.
Yeah, that was his 40th birthday.
Dad's 40th birthday? Birthday.
Right?
That's how they say
So,
it.
so you were in the suburbs. Was there much of an Italian influence there?
Well, there was only 3 Italian families in the whole town.
Yeah. The Manos,
Did they treat you all right?
Us and the DiTrolios.
the Trollios.
Did they treat you all right?
Well, yeah, after a while. But I think at the beginning, my dad couldn't even buy the property because they didn't want an Italian to come in and
Had the
mess up
covenant
the name.
restrictions?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he had to have somebody else buy it, and then he bought it back from him for $1.
$1.
Well, yeah,
Yep.
because he gave him the money
Yeah.
to buy it.
Yeah.
And then we had the nicest house. Oh, and another thing, when he was building that house, he was going to make it an all-stone house. But because the people complained, he could only get the stone up halfway in the front. That's why it didn't turn out a full stone house.
It's still a nice looking house,
Oh
though.
yeah, but it would have been better. And we were the only ones with a curb. We had a nice aggregate curb.
Yeah, the only reason he didn't get a stone house because he was going to put the veneer on later was because he wasn't a registered Republican
Oh,
and he didn't get a permit to do it.
He
So
was
that's-
he was registered
No,
Republican, or
he
he
wasn't.
wasn't?
no, but he did later on so that he could get some decent jobs.
Yeah.
Democrats.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was staunch Democrat.
Take some pictures with them.
So Nick was the oldest, and then was it Al
George,
and George?
my brother that died, Gino,
Gino.
me, Ange.
And me, I'm number
Dinglehead.
7. I'm number 7.
How old were you when Gino passed away?
I was 5 and he was 13.
So what do you?
No, I was
11.
8. I was 5 and he was
11 and a half.
Okay, it was 5 years between us.
And what was it that he passed away from?
Leukemia.
Leukemia. And what do you remember about Gino? How would
I
you
don't.
describe him? You
I
don't remember him
have
much?
no recollections of him at all.
Huh.
The only thing I know is a picture my mother had.
Okay.
Don't remember him at all.
And tell me a little bit about Al.
He was the boss.
Al was the boss,
Yeah, they used to call him Mussolini.
the dictator.
Yeah, that's what we call Laura. The
But,
dictator.
he was a hard worker. He and his brother Nick, boy, they did some work.
Yeah.
And he had 2 children, Nancy and Tommy, and his wife Marie. They had a place down the shore. They did real well.
They had a beautiful home, I remember that.
Lower Marion.
And talk about George a little bit.
George.
Talk about George a little bit.
See, George left for the service when I was young. Then he didn't. After the service, he was home for a real short while. Then he moved out to California to do the work. And I didn't know George too well.
So you had to get to know him later on.
Yeah, I got to know him when I started visiting.
Okay.
Yeah, I miss him.
Yeah. He was a good guy.
Yep.
How about Ange?
Oh, he was neat.
Neat as in nice or clean, fastidious?
Yeah, he was a
Nice guy.
nice
Yeah.
guy.
He seemed like a very happy and outgoing guy.
Yeah.
I remember him from when I was young with him and Pat and Steve and Debbie when they were kids.
But my father used to give him a hard time all the time. I don't know why.
About what?
I
Work?
don't know, because he couldn't do anything right, according to Dad.
Oh.
Mostly because he was scared of that, I think.
Yeah, my dad was, he was a good guy. He was very generous, but he was a very stern
High
person.
expectations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, he probably changed a lot in his older age because I remember him as being very outgoing, and he just seemed to be always happy.
Social.
That happened after we retired.
Yeah,
really.
didn't have to work so hard.
Well, I'll tell you when it really happened was during the war.
Okay.
My brothers went away, and it was just he and I as the men, and Ange, because Ange was small. But we used to drink beer and wine. We had a good time. That's when he changed.
Yeah, and you remember Dad would fill us later on when he got older and wine would affect him too much, make us get red in the face and all. He started drinking iced tea. He drank a big glass of iced tea, drink it halfway down, and then he'd fill it up with wine. And that was his wine for dinner at night.
Yeah.
He had a wine cooler.
Yeah, we had a wine cellar even at our house on Angeles Vista. Kept a big barrel down under the garage or under the
There
house.
was in Manoa.
Have one in Manoa too?
Yeah, in the back room in the basement.
So when they moved
Oh.
to California, Gene, you moved, right? And how about you, Rudy? Were you out of the house by then?
No, I stayed with
Rita.
Barbara's mother.
Okay.
With Nick and Rita.
How old were you then?
I was just out of school. I was 18. Just out of school.
And you went into business with your
No,
brothers?
I used to work at the hardware store.
Okay.
At Jake Lowe's.
Jake's hardware
And,
store.
The name from
You
the
worked
past.
there from
Then-
when you were 10 or 12, didn't you?
yeah, then I came out here in 1948. My mom came and got me. Your mother said to your mom, Rudy's going to get married. She came and got me.
Oh, because you weren't going to marry who she wanted you
Yeah, I
to
was done with a
Non-Christian.
With Eileen Kennedy, and
Irish?
so I drove Mom back. I guess she came on a train, because I don't think she flew.
Not then, but she did start flying later.
And then she and I drove back, and then I met Joan, and we got married in '50, and I came back. But when I came back, while I was here for the 2 years, I learned to be a mason with my dad. I worked with Nick and Al, and then they split up a little bit, and I went on my own.
Was Joan Italian too? Was Joan Italian also?
Yeah,
La Conte.
What was her maiden, LeConte?
La
my
Conte.
contact.
Yeah.
Okay.
What year did Nana and Grandpa go to California?
The December 46 we arrived in California, but our furniture and stuff didn't come till January.
How old were you, Gene, when you moved?
11 and a half.
So was it like a totally different world to you? Do you remember
Yeah,
your
yeah.
impressions coming out here?
No, I don't
really?
have very good memory.
Just that you drove through.
I just remember that was we had to live with people when we first got here because our furniture hadn't come and we hadn't gotten a house yet. And we lived with this family, Tessatoris. He was the pastor of the church. So we lived with them for a couple of months. So I went to a couple of different schools because we kept moving around. But the thing I remember the most, I had been waiting for like 8 months for Nancy to be born. Because when Barbara was born, I was too young to remember. I was like 5 and a half. But when Nancy was coming, I thought, oh gosh, I'll be a part of this and all that stuff. And then we moved to California, and she was born 2 weeks later.
And whose child was Nancy?
Al.
Okay.
And I got so sick, I ran a high fever just because I was so upset that I didn't get to be there when she was born. And then I didn't get to see her till the following summer when we went back.
Would you consider your parents people of faith?
Oh yeah, because my mother became a born-again Christian 2 years before I was born.
Okay.
So I knew nothing but going to church for 4 times a week. Sunday, twice on Sunday, and Tuesday and Thursday.
Okay.
And sometimes another Saturday night or something. And we had to drive in from where we lived out in the suburbs to the city.
Yeah.
But she always went to the same Italian church in town.
Okay.
Whose interview is this?
It's supposed to be ours. No, it's yours.
No fights now.
Copy it all.
Well, it's actually right at the end of my tape here, and I don't want it to cut off in the middle of a sentence. So
Go ahead, Rudy.
I'll just say it was great to meet you, Rudy, and great to see Gene and Bob, and this will be a good memory to have. We'll send you a copy of it.
Okay, nice meeting you too.
Yes. Good day.